Good afternoon, both. How are you, Samantha? Are you well today?
Excellent, yes, and thank you all so much for staying awake for the last session. I do appreciate it.
Good. Well, there's still a few moments to go, so we'll see how that goes. Samantha, tell us, what is your art?
My form of art is that I'm an opera singer. I'm a soprano. I trained here in London at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. And so for the last 15 years, I've been privileged to sing across Europe and the UK and further afield around the world, singing some of the most sumptuous orchestral music, I think, ever to be written, mostly dying for love or killing my lover.
Right, very good. We'll come on to that in a moment. How did you get into that? I mean, how does one become an opera singer?
Gosh, I was always a child that loved to be in the school play, but I think I really, at the core of it, I'm just someone that loved telling stories. I was always inspired in my childhood by stories. It was something that always spoke to me, and I began to train in music. I had a very encouraging teacher, but really, I found people always 5 years ahead of me at every step, that I could sort of ask my questions of and understand how much sacrifice would be involved. I think it's a specialist niche area, and you do need to be prepared to give a lot of sacrifice to that work. So I was encouraged, but I also had my questions answered, and at every opportunity where I thought, oh, I could deviate from this and perhaps choose another path, I had a huge love of it, and I just wanted to take the next step and sacrifice up to the point that I got to conservatoire and did my training and then launched myself out into the world. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, Hannah, of course, is a painter and you're an opera singer,
Yeah.
but I guess that there's a similarity with that in that you're both storytellers, that you're telling stories through your art. How does that work in opera?
Well, it's a marriage of music and text, and I think opera has something that's incredibly special about it, is it's really trying to draw together, Wagner used this word, the Gesamtkunstwerk, wrap your teeth around that, the total artwork, something where you're bringing the best of dance, the best of costume, the best of lighting, the best of orchestral music, and of text, and so you're sort of immersed in this narrative, and I process some of my human experience through that. Some of it's meditative, sometimes I'm crying, sometimes I'm laughing, but all good art helps you understand the human experience more, so that's one of the things opera does.
And tell me, Sam, what you see as being the relationship between your art, between opera and social change. This is, of course, a leading question.
Absolutely, and I acknowledge that. Well, in the past 5 years, I've really felt that although my career to that point was fairly mainstream, fairly typical of a classical musician, God really began to speak to me about issues that I cared about, and I began to ask the questions, but God, how would I marry what I care about, like giving voice to women's stories, or stories of refugees and displaced people, or things to do with trafficking and modern-day slavery? How would I move the needle on any of that? As we've heard today, I'm not a policy maker. I can't lobby for the law to be changed, and I thought, no, but God's given me a voice, and I'm a storyteller. What would I do? Well, I'm in the everything cohort. I'm going to start asking around, and I met a writer, Rydian Brooke, who's now working with me, writing an opera on modern slavery, and with composer Roxana Panufnik. And we've been developing one for over a year, and within the cohort we've had people host us for insight evenings, and I've been really privileged to have advice and a bit of mentoring from people like Tim at Hope for Justice, and Andrew from Unseen, and some of our friends at Justice and Care as well. So this is on the strength of the cohort and everything, that it's really moved forward, and I began to find how I could articulate my calling as an artist, but also begin to affect things I feel God's put on my heart.
Brilliant. Now, Tim, you're not an opera singer.
No, I don't think I'd subject anybody to my singing, I'm afraid.
What's your role in this big project?
Yeah, so for me, for those of you who don't know Hope for Justice, we work across 7 countries internationally, This last year, our program helped just over 203,000 individuals across our entire program. So a lot of the stories and the individual understanding of those who are trafficked, those people who have been held against their will, we can convey in a way that Samantha and others would be able to understand.
Amazing. And what do you see as being the relationship between advocacy and art, and particularly seeking to campaign against people trafficking, global slavery, and opera?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a difficult subject. You know, we've heard of it today. It's a dark and sometimes really difficult subject to wrestle with. It's not the type of thing that the average person just goes and sees their friend at the pub or for a meal and says, oh, did you know about modern day slavery? How can I've got something to tell you about this. So we need to have opportunities where lights can be shone on this so that would lead to understanding and lead to action. And it's almost like we need to have gateways. I know in the ancient world, cities had gateways and it controlled the goods and services that flowed through into those cities. Sometimes the gatekeeper was more important than the king in the flow of those goods and services. And for charities in a world where we're trying to raise funds and we're trying to raise awareness, things like this open a doorway for people to be able to flow through and understand the importance and the impact that each person can make.
Amazing. I'm not an opera buff, but I know enough about opera to know that it often deals with some pretty dark themes. And it just strikes me that opera is the right carrier of these stories in dealing with some of the grittiest and most depressing aspects of the human condition.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would imagine it almost punches holes in the darkness to let the light shine through. It conveys in a way that maybe just talking just wouldn't be able to do that. It takes us to a place that we wouldn't have thought of, and hopefully in so doing it then opens a doorway for people to say, oh, well, actually, the importance of what I can do personally, whether it's in their company or them as an individual, or maybe in the choices I make, in the products I buy and the services I'm getting hold of, to try and put the person who's making those products and services, the person behind the modern slavery victim, is someone that comes to the fore.
And how do you respond to that, Sam?
Definitely keeping on the theme of what we've heard of a lot today, is that it's a collective effort in a response to anything we want to see changed on. I mean, everything that's been spoken about today has been a collaboration of people all playing their part. So I would say I'm really keen to make this art be created, because I feel like creating content is an important part of being an artist, but also that in the darkness that you spoke about, we also need to counter that with the hope and the light. And that's one of the prevailing, just one of the most important things I want to be able to show people through that art. I don't want them to come and feel totally despondent. Like you said, we are dealing with hard subject matter, and if we're all playing our part, if the journalist writes an excellent piece on it, if a book is published on it, if you can go and see an exhibition of portraiture, if you can go and engage with a piece of musical theatre like an opera, and if you know about the charities that are available, then you're sort of tackling the issue from every possible angle, and that's the way I feel like the needle gets moved. And I can only play my part in it and say, you know, Lord, here I am, and to speak to how it feels like to do anything like this. It is like climbing Everest. We've heard about people doing extremely challenging things today. And I would say that God often gives you his vision or his idea, and then he shows you one step of what to do in the path. And I just want to encourage anyone that feels like maybe God's asking them to do something very big, sort of that feels out of their comfort zone. Take heart in the one step. That's all you need to do in faith. Take that one step, and God will reveal the next step of the path to you. And if you're part of this lovely group of people, you will have people you can reach out to and talk. And I've been encouraged and supported and taken advice, and people will hold you up in prayer, and you've got a great big God looking out for you too, so don't forget that.
And Tim, just in the closing seconds, have you got a story of hope that you can leave with us?
Yeah, I think in a dark subject matter and where you come from, you look at potentially an individual, and sometimes we skirt over the individuals themselves. And I know for me, I've got several children, as many people in this room do, and we always ask each one of the individual children that we rescue what they're hopeful for. This last year, we've had 1,474 children that we brought back to their mums and dads. And one particular child, about 18 months ago, I get sent through the notice and the files of things, and sometimes there's something that catches your eye. And this one particular girl, when they asked her what she was thankful for, she said she was, at 8 years old, she was thankful that she got to sleep in a dry bed.
Praise God.
Now, I don't know where you ever have to be in a place, and obviously this is past the years where kids might be wetting the bed, but to actually sleep in a dry bed because of being subject to having to sleep with man after man after man, to get that level of hope just takes you to a place where you can understand the difference that you can bring to each individual child and how precious these individuals are. And the hope that I would have is that through this piece of musical theatre, through opportunities to raise awareness of this, that people would understand that these are someone's son and daughter. And if they were my son and daughter, I'd do something about it. But the reality is we can all do something about it. And if it's in music or if it's in art or if it's in business, whatever that might look like, we can all play our part in ending modern day slavery.
Brilliant. That's an amazingly hopeful way to end this session. Friends, would you give a warm round of applause to Samantha Crawford, Tim Nelson.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.